Good evening. Welcome to the November 18th, 2013 regular meeting of the Edina School Board. We do have a quorum this evening. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We had a regular meeting on October 21st and a special and closed meeting on November 14th. Had a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any additions or corrections to those minutes as written? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any requests to speak from the audience? Sarah? Thank you. First up, we're going to jump the recognitions. We'd like to invite the girls' tennis team for their annual visit.
Man.
Welcome, girls.
Yeah, really.
For their annual, that's good. Well, what did you think, Coach? Started the season looking at the team that you had, knowing the competition that was out there. They're always targeting to get the Hornets. How did you see the season starting out?
More than anything, I think we look at what the kids do in the off season. We knew that we ended up playing in the finals at Minnetonka was tough, and lots of tough teams in the tournaments we played. The tournament we host here has the top teams in the state, so it's just about getting better. And we had some injuries along the way, so it was an interesting but a fun ride.
Fantastic. And we know it's been 17 years consecutive. How many years, Perry, have you been coaching the team?
10.
10 as the assistant coach. Well, that's fantastic. Well, we want to congratulate you. We're going to go around your name, maybe a season highlight that when you think back on that season, and your grade level. How's that? Those are the three things: name, grade, and highlight as you look back on the season.
I'm Bridget, and I'm a senior, and my highlight was just bonding with all of my teammates.
I'm Maddie. I'm a senior, and my highlight was probably getting to play on the team with my little sister.
I'm Michaela. I'm a junior, and my highlight was just the whole state experience.
I'm Sophia. I'm a junior, and my highlight was all the traditions that we got to experience.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm a junior, and the highlight was probably spending time with the team.
We're going to have you just stay right here for a second as Chair Meyer will be officially giving you a certificate, and we again want to recognize you. Cameras are gone today. Okay.
No,
Okay. Yep. We're gonna. So you've got a shared comment.
I talked to Steve a few hours ago. Our head coach, Steve Paulson, is teaching this evening, and on behalf of Steve and I, we'd like to thank the board, the administration at the high school, and in particular the community of Edina, just for the terrific support that the girls and we receive year after year, and also to thank the girls and their parents for the dedication and all the time they put in, not just during the season, but in the off season as well.
I think that's very deserving because we know this is not an automatic. This is a lot of hard work, and on behalf of 47,000 community members, we congratulate you for another state championship. Congratulations. Yeah. Caitlin? So Caitlin, we've got a special award for you. Caitlin Messberger-Bacher. There's that award for the state championship. Let's talk a little bit about that. You'd gone through the team championship, and you knew you had a shot at moving it to that next level for yourself. Talk a little bit about that final match, because I know that was a big challenging one for you.
Yeah, it was a pretty tough match. I mean, we both kind of had it went back and forth. She won the first set, I won the second, and then I was up in the third set, and then she came back to even it out, and I think it was just a battle from there on out. I don't know.
So how do you keep your composure when you're at that, you guys were fighting through that tiebreaker phase and just trying to find that momentum piece? What kept you going?
Definitely the support of my team there definitely got me through. And you just have to think about it as just another regular match. You can't think about it too much, too big. So.
Caitlin, do a great job representing our school and the team, and we congratulate you on that state championship. Congratulations. We also have a recognition from our community education program. I'm going to ask Kim Carlson from the Buffalo Montrose Hanover School District to come forward, and we have a recognition to Val Burke and her team. Welcome, Kim. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Like I said, my name is Kim Carlson. I'm the Community Education Director for the Buffalo Hanover Montrose Schools. So yes, I'm still mourning the loss of our Buildings and Grounds Director and Kurt Johansson, who is with you here in Edina. So that was a double whammy, but great guys. So I'm here tonight as a board member of the Minnesota Community Education Association, and I'm the Region 3 rep. And MCA has about 1,200 members. The state's divided into 9 regions. And in Edina's region, we have 13 school districts from Minneapolis to Eden Prairie, New Prague, and of course Edina is one of them. So it's quite an honor to be chosen. Minnesota Community Education every year nominates projects that exemplify the core values of community education. We look for projects that have exceptionally high levels of cooperation, teamwork, effective use of resources, and a positive impact on the local community. So I'm here today to recognize the project called Passport to Community Education. So Val, if you could introduce the group that's responsible for it, I'll give the award out.
Thank you, Kim. Cheryl Gunnis, Lori Murphy, and Alyssa Diamond were the 3 women who worked on the coordinated efforts of the Passport program. If you look at it, we've got our little brochures, but it's a year-long effort to introduce our community to global offerings in our youth, in our adults, and communicate it in a lively and engaging way. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything. You did the work.
Mike?
They also were honored at the MCA State Conference October 30th as well. But here, I'll give you the mic and you can share a little bit about it. Congratulations.
Well, I guess that we were just really excited and honored to be able to enhance the school district mission of educating globally aware community members who can thrive in a global society. So we are really excited to bring this programming to a wider audience.
I enjoyed the teamwork. That was part of the reason we wanted, I think, is that we are collaborating across programs. We've got our communications manager. I'm the youth enrichment manager and the adult programmer enrichment manager, I guess. So that was really fun. It was a different way of working for all of us, and I thought it worked out really well. So.
I would just agree with Lori and say that it wasn't anyone's individual idea, but it was a holistic group kind of brainstorm that kind of brought the creativity, thinking about the district's mission and how can we make that become alive through community education programming.
Well, congratulations, Bob.
Next up, we have our presentation, Edina High School.
Eric Nelson and team are here tonight to talk a little bit about some pretty exciting things going on at Edina High School. We welcome all of them.
Hi, my name is Maggie Trend. I'm a Spanish teacher at Edina High School, and I've served the last 7 years as staff development chair at the high school as well. We're here tonight to talk about our Collaborative Wednesday proposal that we started this year. And it started back in February when a group of 6 staff members went to a professional learning conference. And from that professional learning conference, we wanted to figure out how we could better implement the PLC model at Edina High School. And 2 things came out of that conference that we wanted to work towards. And so those became our purposes. The first was to provide time for students to seek enrichment or extra time and support during the school day. Many of our students are extremely busy and don't have time before or after school or have issues with transportation. Can I keep going? Okay. And so we wanted to find time during the school day for teachers to meet with those students either for enrichment, for extra help, or simply to help them make up a test or quiz. We also wanted to find time throughout the daily schedule for teachers to work in collaborative teams with other teachers who are teaching the same course. In that group, they can work on creating standards, common assessments, analyzing data, and so that became the two things that we tried to do. And so we came up with the Wednesday collaborative schedule, which naturally happens on Wednesdays. There are 26 Wednesdays throughout the school year, with the exception of shortened Wednesdays or finals weeks, et cetera. And as a teacher, on 13 of those Wednesdays, or every other Wednesday, I have the opportunity to work in a collaborative team with my colleagues, and we analyze data. Like I said, we also create common assessments, talk about the learning objectives, what do we want our students to learn. The other 13 Wednesdays, I have an opportunity to invite students in to see me if they need extra help or support in doing well in my class. Also, they can come in for, if they have questions, they can come in to make up tests or quizzes, or they have an opportunity to work collaboratively in other spaces throughout the building with each other. And it happens between third and fourth hour. There's an 80-minute block. So we created an extra 80 minutes during third and fourth hour, which also allows for them to eat lunch during that time as well.
I'm Eric Nelson. I'm one of the assistant principals here at the high school. And when we put this into place, we really wanted to have as many ways for students to be engaged as possible, as Maggie was saying. And one of the things I think she might have left off is that each of the teachers there's two groups of teachers, and then they flip-flop. So the ones that are collaborating with their colleagues the next week are working with students. And that way we would have teachers be accessible on every one of the Wednesdays, at least half of the staff. And so after we did this, we had a lot of people initially very excited about this, but we wanted to get some data, and so we surveyed our student population, and we got some very, very encouraging information back. When we asked the students about whether this was providing them an effective opportunity to be able to meet the objectives and the purposes that we put forth, it was overwhelming. And if you look at the pie chart in front of you, you'll see that the orange and the blue are people that are either strongly agreeing or agreeing that we're able to meet those purposes that we're setting in place. You really can't get a population of anybody to agree with this much stuff. So that's quite exciting. We also asked the students what they were doing with their time, and the most common thing that students were doing is just going into different places to be able to work either quietly by themselves or in small groups. Kids are using the media center extensively. It's to the point that we're almost wondering, are we too full in the media center? A lot of students are going to FIC Auditorium. FIC is our large facility that has tablets, ARM tablets, and so the FIC is reserved for silent study. So, it's amazing to see 200 and 250 kids going into FIC Auditorium, and it's like a church mouse in there. It's unbelievable how quiet, and they're just really using their time well. A lot of students are saying that they're going to go meet with teachers, make up tests, things like that. So everything that we kind of laid out in hopes that the students would be able to do that, they're taking advantage of, and it's very exciting to be able to do that. And we also have on every day an open campus for seniors if they want to take advantage of a lunch, and some of the seniors certainly are going to take advantage of that. And I think that one of the things that we've heard from the seniors and the other students too is that because this is between third and fourth hour on Wednesday, it's right smack in the middle of the week, and it really gives them an opportunity to kind of decompress for an hour and have their lunch, get some help, and then get themselves prepared for the second half of the week. And in addition to some of the opportunities that exist there, one of the reasons we put it in the middle of the week, or in the middle of the day rather, is that a lot of our part-time and shared time staff are either in the morning or the afternoon. And when we used to have a late start for kids to get help and things like that, if you were an afternoon-only teacher, you never really had access to your students on those days. So most of the staff that's part-time or shared time flanks either before or after the collaborative time, and it works out really well. So the other thing that is an area where we found out a lot from the kids is that we do need to work on the number of spaces that they can use. The kids are kind of finding every nook and cranny in the building. It kind of reminds me of when we went through construction and they found every nook and cranny that was available to them to eat lunch. Now it's finding places to study. I mean, we have kids that are sitting between the stacks in the media center in their little clusters of kids studying away, and so the one thing that we are really needing to work on is finding enough good spaces for kids to be able to do the quiet study that they want and the small group study that they want. And again, the last question we asked them is, should we continue this? And well, one kid out of the 300 and something that responded said no, and I, we'll try to make that kid happy too somehow. But it's super exciting to get this kind of response rate from the students. And so now we have an opportunity for you to hear from some of the students, and they're going to talk a little bit about how they've used their time on those days.
All right, hi. I'm Sonali Diaspignawarda, and I'm a senior at Edina High School. And right now, currently, I have 2 jobs, and I'm part of the hip-hop dance team. And I'm also part of like a variety of different clubs, including Multicultural Club and a whole bunch of volunteer organizations. So Collaborative Wednesday is like a big deal for me. It's really helpful. I'm able to do a lot of homework, meet with teachers if I miss school. Because it used to be if you miss school, even if you were sick, you'd never want to miss school because it'd be like, it's not worth it. It would never be worth it to go make up time. And I don't have usually time either before or after school to ever make up work. And as a senior, I'm of course able to go out to lunch like he said, but I've only gone once. And that's kind of a big deal. And my friends are like, wow, that's amazing how you've only gone once. But a lot of people that I know have only also gone once to go out to lunch. And it's really, really helpful to be able to meet with your teachers during that time, because usually I don't have any time to do that. And also, I feel like it's put a lot of like stress off my shoulders knowing that throughout my busy schedule, I have that one time every week to do anything I need to do related to school, including college applications. I've been able to meet with my counselor to work on college applications, or my English teachers have held seminars for college essays, which is really, really helpful because then they can go over your college essay with you personally. Actually, this Wednesday, I'm going over my college essay with one of my teachers, and she's going to go over it with me. So it's a big weight lifting off my shoulder from junior year, able to have that time that wasn't there before.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Vucinich, and I'm a junior. I'm also involved in a lot of extracurriculars like clubs and everything. Every week, Sober Squad meets, and we just catch up and learn more information so we can teach the middle schools and some elementaries how to be sober and all about that. And also, I missed a few days of school a couple weeks ago, and going to other teachers to catch up rather than having to go in early and miss sleep is just a really helpful thing.
Hi, my name is Will Battle. I am a sophomore at Edina High School, and one of the biggest things that this Collaborative Wednesday has really helped me with is I'll admit that I find it very easy to fall behind in all this extra work that's been piled on me after coming from Southview. It's definitely a big step up in the workload, both homework and in school, and it's definitely nice to have a nice big chunk of time in the middle of the week to just kind of catch up and get done what you couldn't get done before, because I'm also busy before and after school, and it's just a pain, especially when you miss school. So having this extra 80 minutes is just a great help, so that's what I think.
Hi, I'm Isabel Swanson, and I'm a sophomore. Oh, does this even work? Okay. And I take a 0 hour, and then I also have sports after school, so it's really hard to communicate with my teachers. And Collaborative Wednesdays give me an opportunity to do that and to form a connection with them. Also, it's really nice to know you have a break during the week, because it gives you time to collaborate, attend seminars, retake tests and stuff. So it's a really nice break to help me relieve stress. So that's what I like about them.
Hi, I'm Audrey Sheehy, and I'm a 10th grader at Edina High School. And currently I'm involved in 212, DECA, Model UN, and then I also am involved in my church's peer ministry. And I play a year-round sport for the Renegades softball club. And it's really important for me to have Collaborative Wednesdays because I'm really focusing on my schoolwork. And I'm one of those people that really like being involved in everything just to build up my college resume. And so, because I'm really into that kind of stuff. and I like being involved in everything because I'm kind of one of those people that like everything. So it's kind of like I gotta pick what I like to do. But one of the things that I do in high school is I'm trying to take all of these different classes to figure out what I want to do with my life because I'm kind of not there yet, as you know, none of the 10th graders are. But for Collaborative Wednesdays, I work in the DECAFE for half of the time because I wasn't able to make a commitment before school because I take a 0 hour. And after school, I have activities every single day. So it's really allowed me to also be involved in DECA and be able to participate in that class. And then the other half, I usually talk to teachers and work on schoolwork. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Is there any questions we can take?
I just want to say that after hearing about this and listening to all the students, I think this is like one of the most exciting things I've heard come out of the high school in just years, and I wish my kids had had this. It just sounds like a really great opportunity for teachers to collaborate, but for students to really have some time to get done what they need to do. So I commend you all to figure out how you carved out your 80 minutes and you're making it work. I just think it's wonderful.
I also would like to say, this makes me wish I was still teaching at the high school. Eric, can we get that slide that showed what students are doing? Because I don't know about anybody else's eyes, but there was no way that I could read those words at the bottom of that slide. And my other question, and I don't know whether there's any way at this point to answer this, do you feel like Collaborative Wednesdays are having any impact on what is going on during regular class time, or in terms of how teachers are telling students to operate? You know, in terms of maybe saying, well, now you have time to collaborate so we can do some of these things that we couldn't do before.
I think that the teachers, in particular, the teachers are able to have kids in class. A lot of times, you know, if one of the kids is sick and they come back and they're reviewing a quiz, you see a kid sitting out in the hallway or something like that, or taking a quiz instead of being in class learning new material. And so now this is a way that teachers are able to say, okay, I know you have time on Wednesday, so my expectation is that you will be coming in to make up those things. I think that the teachers, you know, Lonnie, you used to teach the AP US History class, and one of the most popular things in that class is to have these study groups, and this really gives, so the teachers are able to kind of put that back on the kids and say, this is a great time for you to meet in your study groups. I would anticipate also that as we get closer to April, when a lot of the teachers do advanced placement review sessions and things like that, they're going to be using this time to be able to do those kinds of things. So I think that it definitely is having an impact in that some of the things that they used to use class time for, giving makeup quizzes, things like that, review for the AP tests, are now going to be able to be pushed off into this more open time.
So Eric, is there anything that you need from the board that would enable you to keep this idea moving forward?
I think that the just your support and the interest. Thank you for so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about it. We're very excited about it, and so you know, just keep the good word. We would invite you to come by and see a FIC auditorium full of kids being quiet. It's pretty remarkable as they're just pounding in away on their catching up on their reading and things like that. So I think that we're okay for right now, but your support is greatly appreciated.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Eric, if you just like send that slide to Sarah, she can send it out to us.
Yep, I will do that.
Before we move on to our reports, Rick, could you walk us through the balance of tonight's agenda, please?
Certainly will. Again, a reminder that we did have a special school board meeting on November 14th. At that meeting, the board did approve accept the school board election, and that was all certified. There'll be action later tonight on that. Also, the board met in a closed session to do some strategy work as related to employee negotiations. Tonight's meeting, we've heard from the high school. We'll have some reports from community education as well as our district equity work. I'll give a brief leadership update. We have a variety of consent agenda items, many of them around great things our young people are doing, and we commend them for that work. On the action side, we'll be, again, accepting oath of office for some board members who are being reelected, and then some new board members. That positions actually begin the 1st of January. We'll be taking action tonight on the all-day kindergarten program set for next fall, as well as the update on the teacher evaluation model. We have some employee benefit consultants, a budget enhancement, some one-time funding. It's been a successful tool for us. I need to amend the integration budget. We have a variety of policies that we'll be going through. Again, this is just part of our routine business items for both action as well as some discussion items with some course changes as we're getting ready for the 14-15 school year. And then we have some time for information, and that will conclude our board agenda items for tonight.
Thank you, Rick. Next up, we have our community ed service presentation.
I don't know about you, but that was exhausting to hear those kids be so involved. It was exciting and exhausting.
Yep.
Is it on? Great.
Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share the second year of the Edina Community Education Services Strategic Plan. I want to talk a little bit about what guides us. 47,000 community members guide our work, along with state legislation, 124-18. A little dry, but essentially its intent is the purpose of community education is a statewide school-based network that connects local people and resources to improve schools and communities. We're also guided by Policy 901, which says that we report to the Edina School Board, which is wonderful to be here tonight. And we are guided by our 3-year strategic plan. I wanted to talk a little bit about our graph on user fees and levy dollars. Support for community education is partially funded by levy dollars from the state of Minnesota. Approximately 14% of our budget is supported by levy dollars, and 86% is supported by user fees, and looking ahead by partnerships. We believe moving forward to continue to create dynamic, integrated, and accessible programs, we really need to rely on our strategic planning goals. Initially, we were aligning our programs and services with K-12 programming and community programming. Year 2, we've adapted that to birth through grade 12, and moving forward as we listen to legislative goals and the strategic planning of the district, we'll probably be moving to a cradle to career and beyond model. We're also looking at enhancing effective and valued partnerships. Why? To avoid duplication of services amongst community different services and create a coordinated value for our Edina residents here. And finally, we always are looking at ways to personalize and enhance our customer service experiences, and we believe by strengthening operations and communications, we can deliver a better program. I'm going to talk a little bit about our program areas. Early education. The Edina Family Center offers high-quality early education programs for families with children birth through age 5. The programs include new baby, early education family, or early childhood family education classes, preschool classes, child care, and parent education, a wide array. Our current strategic initiatives this year involve the birth through grade 5 study. That work advances our high-quality early ed program work with our high-quality elementary programs here in Edina. And for years, we've worked side by side together. But now, with the study, it's pushing us to work together to provide quality program to quality program, with one of the goals being to create a seamless early education program for parents and families. We want our early ed students to be able to move seamlessly into our K-12 programming. The team is busy gathering data, researching best practices, and is very excited about the coordinated work. The school readiness program helps our 3.5 to 5-year-olds prepare for a successful school experience. This year, the state of Minnesota enacted some early learning scholarship dollars that are now available for families that could use financial assistance for early ed care and education. These scholarships are only available to programs that have a parent-aware rated program. And I'm very proud to say that the Edina Senior Center, the Edina Early Education Program is accredited with 4-star Parent Aware and with the National Association for Education in Young Children accreditation. Our youth programs, equally lively. We offer high-quality school-age care, enrichment programs during the school, classes and camps for ages 3 through 18 during the summer months, and community service opportunities for all ages all year long. Our strategic initiatives this year revolve around the early start and or late start and early release day options. Working together, our school-age care staff and our building principals created an array of options for families, and I'd really like to thank our communications director, Susan Brott, for working with us so that the newsletters coming out from schools, the information going from the school-age care program, and our district communications were all aligned so families knew what was happening. And for those families that might have, for some reason, not understood about what the late start was, together, the building principal and the school-age care staff were able to make every single child and family welcome and educate them about future offerings. We're also continuing to expand our middle school program. Last year, the program moved from a couple of rooms downstairs here in the Community Education Center, which serves 6th through 9th graders, moved over to Southview Middle School. This year, they're expanding along with cooperation from Sean Dudley over at Valley View and Beth Cornwell to talk about offering programs at Valley View as well as Southview. And again, this is a coordinated effort with the building principals and school staff to make sure that our middle schoolers have a wide variety of program options for them in an after-school safe environment. And finally, we're in the middle of a deep dive examination of our youth development, youth service delivery model so we can better incorporate more curriculum-based service learning. We want all kids, all ages to develop the leadership and empowerment skills that come from truly impacting their community through service. Our Learn, Serve, and Connect model. This team is literally creating a one-stop shop of sorts for our adult learners. We have taken 3 internal programs, our Edina Resource Center, our adult learning, and our volunteer programs. Each one of them adults had to enter separately, and we're working toward integrating them so a person or an adult in our community can receive resource support, decide they want to sharpen their learning, and serve their community as a volunteer. Initiatives this year, after several years having a successful homework help program at Cornelia only, with the help of the Edina Education Fund mini grant, we're able to expand that program to 2 more after schools at Countryside and at Creek Valley. The model consists of hiring a staff person at each of those sites to help coordinate the students needing help and the curriculum they needed. So together, staff from Community Education Services and the staff at each site did training for the new volunteers this year. Anecdotally, one of the volunteers is on our Community Ed Services board, and she told me how she was so apprehensive about teaching math to kids and what was that like. And after the training, she said she felt so relieved and so empowered by understanding exactly what her place was and how she was able to deliver that programming. Partnership-wise, we are leveraging many connections through our volunteer and resource center staff and are utilizing them to create more dynamic and adult and youth programming options. We're also a little bit on the dog and pony circuit, letting our community partners know of ways that they can help serve. Both the adult and youth learning team, you heard today about the Passport, is moving toward a more data-driven program design using timely program evaluations, in-person focus groups, and community survey information to offer us a more responsive array of classes. Our cancellation rate this fall is at an all-time low for both our youth and adult programs. And finally, the Edina Resource Center has a new interactive website. It's mobile, so our staff can go anywhere, anytime. They've been at different school sites. They've been at the Edina Senior Center. They've been wherever you may need them and are able to bring that up. It's in multiple languages, and so we feel like it's a really useful tool moving forward with our Learn, Serve, Connect model. Operations and communications, similarly to our our Learn, Serve, Connect model. We have a shared services and one-stop stop service for all of our users. We moved our family center clerical over to our main office so that anyone coming into our office can be served from 0 to 5, from 3 to 18, and beyond. We're also integrating facilities scheduling and management into the main office area. Facilities management began for us formally in July, and this December we'll move over the facilities scheduler. So again, you could be a user out in the public, or you can be a staff internal user needing to rent facilities or find out information, and you can do it all in one coordinated office. Finally, system-wide, we are working hard at aligning our budgets to our priorities. We redesigned our financial assistance process, so we're now working individually with each building principal and staff there, and community organizations such as Edina Give and Go and Edina Challenge to better connect available dollars to families who can truly need it. As a department, we've made equity training available to all our staff, and program by program, the coordinators, and I'd like to thank them for being here tonight. Meg Barrett with youth, Lori Den with our early education program, Stephanie Zarbach with operations, and Carrie Cabe, who's not here, but with our Learn, Serve, Connect. But they are working program by program on implementing ways to implement the All for All plan. Finally, all of our program areas are working with building heads on coordinating after-school safety and security protocols for out-of-school time offerings. Looking ahead, we want to work with Dr. Schmidt and our research and development team to create common data gathering points for all our program areas, a vision card of sorts for community education services. And additionally, we feel that data can more comprehensively tell our story. And finally, I'm working with the City of Edina Economic Development Manager on doing an economic impact study on community education services. We want to examine the effects of our programs and services on the economy in Edina. We create jobs, we allow people to go to jobs, we build skills, and we create opportunities for people to serve. We're not just nice to have. Community education creates real value in our community, and we think that's a story worth telling. So tonight we celebrate the continuous improvement going on in community education services, and we thank you for letting us share our story with you. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thanks, Val. Questions?
I had a question. Oh,
Go
just a
ahead.
comment that you really seem to be changing in lots of ways. And it sounds really good, and thanks for doing all the work.
Oh, it's definitely a team effort, and that was really our first year, was really spending time together as a team, figuring out how to work better. We say horizontally and vertically, and I get to be the mouthpiece. We have a large team of people doing the work.
I had a couple of questions around your I read through your other document with the program highlights, and a couple things in regard to the Family Center. I saw that you added a ECFE class for kids who do pre-K outside of the Family Center.
Yes.
And was that a parent and child class, or is that a parenting only class?
Parent and child. Parent and
Wonderful,
child.
wonderful. A great way for them to add that parenting component that other schools don't offer. Also, I noticed that you had changed the calendar, which I thought was a really exciting thing to see, that ECFE now matches the school district's calendar. Does that go all the way to the end of school as well?
Yes.
Yes, we were matching the.
Well, I know we had done the beginning. Yep.
Ed piece, including the professional development days this year.
Oh, that's
Really in
wonderful.
preparation with working with the birth through grade 5 study.
That's great.
So.
Additional questions? Great work. Thank you, Val.
Thank
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Incredible work.
Next up, we have our district equity update.
Mary Vanderfield in the house.
Good evening. I'd like to
begin by apologizing. John Ford was unable to be here this evening. He is ill, so I will present solo. One of the things I thought might be helpful is last month we gave a presentation on enrollment. And so let's look at who are the students that make up the students in our building. If you look at the district enrollment, and I looked at the 5-year data, you see a change of about 4.5% over the past 5 years. One of the things that's not in this slide that I think is interesting to note, though, is when we looked at the data back in 2000, 2001, the students in our school were 93.4% white. So in approximately a 13-year period of time, we've had a lot of change from a racially diverse standpoint. The next slide, the next two slides really are looking at our elementary numbers. The first school slide would be the 2009 and then compared to 2013. You'll see raw numbers and then you will see percentages. And I think a couple things to note here is you can see the increase of students at elementary is residents. Open enrollment dropped by 34 students and we had a total elementary enrollment increase of 70. You know, one thing somebody might ask is, how are open enrolled students getting into Normandale since we typically have a wait list? Any student in open enrollment that has been accepted into Normandale would be students now in grades 2, 3, 4, and 5, where they would have to be able to successfully pass a French language test. That would be the only way we would be offering an open enrollment spot in our Normandale school. We have a long waiting list of residents still trying to get into to Normandale. I think the next slide speaks to percentages. And I think if you look, you will see that every school, every elementary school has become more racially diverse in the last 5 years. I'd highlight Highlands as an example of a school that in 5 years has had a 10% change in its racial makeup from 89.7 to 79.8. And you can specifically look at the black students attending Highlands and the Asian students. You might also note that Cornelia continues to become more racially diverse, but the families in their building has changed. Their black population has shown a fairly substantial decrease, while their Hispanic and Asian population has continued to climb. If you also look, the previous slide would have shown it better, but Creek Valley has increased their, doubled their Asian population in a 5-year period from 50 students to 100. So again, every elementary school has become more racially diverse in the past 5 years. When you look at the secondary numbers, you'll note that Southview in particular has had a fairly significant increase in the number of students that qualify for free and reduced price meals in their building. You'll also note that they also have become more racially diverse, and again, those are residents moving into our system. As you can see, the open enrolled population at Southview has decreased. You can see Valley View has also become more racially diverse, and has Edina High School. When you get to the next slide, though, percentages, you can see that Southview and Valley View are almost identical in the makeup of the students in their building, right at 80%, which is what we are as a district. This year we are exactly at 80% white, 20% students of color. You can see that at this point the high school has not grown at the same rate as the other 8 buildings, and I think that is just going to take another year or two, because the change that has occurred in the elementary and the middle school levels speaks for itself. The next slide, and I'm not going to go into too much details about this, but last spring Randy Schmazel and Dr. Chad Schmidt and Penny Kodrich and I spoke about our All for All plan, which you heard about then, and you'll get, I'm sure, another opportunity in the near future to get an update on how we are developing with those plans. But really it was those 5 gap areas: the preparation gap, the belief gap, our teaching and learning, the leadership gap, and our time gap. When we look at some of our student programming, and I won't talk about each one individually, but I will highlight some of these. I think some important notes is that there are a number of things where we have great partnership with the community. If you look at Strive, and Strive stands for Students Taking a Renewed Interest in the Value of Education. That is a partnership with both Rotaries. And really they're focusing on students that have the same natural ability and gift as other students, but maybe they haven't done as well because of work habits or attendance. And that program for the 20 students in the program is a very big difference maker. We could not do it. I'm talking to Heidi Howard, who's a teacher. We could not do it without the Rotary and the volunteer mentors who are willing to come in and work with our children. In addition, the Writing Center, which was funded by the Edina High School, which was funded by an Ed Fund grant, eMath, Sophomore Seminar, High School 101, Matern internship, the ACT prep class. We have for the last 4 years offered an ACT prep class for students who might either not have taken an ACT test yet or have not had the finances to pay for an ACT prep class. We pay a high school teacher. The students are identified by Heidi Howard, who is the academic support specialist, and the counselor. Students who have either not taken their ACT or have not scored as high, and they have an 8-week, once-a-week session with a high school English teacher to prep for that class. Our Options ALP program at Edina High School. Prior to the ALP program starting at Edina High School, if a student was falling behind in credits, we would lose a student. We would lose a student because we didn't have an option for them to stay within our school system. They could do an after-school credit makeup, but they would often leave Edina High School. Now, they stay at Edina. They can transition back between options and the regular school day. The Cultural Responsive Leadership, which I'll talk about later. The Dare to Be Real program, which is a student leadership program. AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. We have that in all 3 secondary schools. It's a national program in 48 states, 15 countries, really focused on kids in the academic middle who might not see themselves as college bound. And that program is, this year we'll have a very small group, but our first group of seniors that will come through AVID. Val referenced some of the academic after-school programming that's occurring at both of our middle schools. The laptop initiative, in addition to the e-learning squared and the district being able to provide the 6th and 9th grade students that cannot afford a laptop, we have continued to, through integration funding, provided a laptop for families that have come from Minneapolis as part of our Choice is Yours program. Some additional ones are the math specialists and the learning specialists at the elementary, which both come through the Access. Part of it comes through the Access grant, which stands for Alternative Delivery of Specialized Instruction System. But part of it also comes from you as a board providing some additional funding so that we can have at all 6 elementary schools a full-time math specialist and a full-time learning specialist. The math specialists work with students that are needing extra support in mathematics in grade K-5. They work with students during the school day, either in a separate pullout or in groups or directly in the classroom. And that is similar to what the reading specialists do. The AmeriCorps. I'm not sure you're all aware that in 3 of our elementary schools, Cornelia, Concord, and Highlands, we have AmeriCorps volunteers this year. Reading Corps is, we have Reading Corps, yes. Reading Corps is Minnesota's version of AmeriCorps. A big chunk of Minnesota's federal AmeriCorps dollars go to running Minnesota's Reading Corps. The goal of the Reading Corps is to have students reading at grade level by grade 3. These volunteers serve students in grades K through 3, identified by Ames Webb benchmark screening as needing extra support. The volunteers start at the top of the bubble and work their way down the list of students. Each volunteer works with students one-on-one daily for 20 minutes. The interventions are scripted and monitored weekly, and each volunteer works with 15 students a day. All the cost to the school district is an in-kind computer, phone, and space use, and then an internal coach to support the work of the volunteers. In addition, we have our Young Scholars Program, which we again started about 3 years ago. Actually, this is the 4th year. And looking at the data, 24% of the students that have been identified as young scholars have now qualified for gifted education. That's a pretty significant number. Saturday school. I just found out today from Kira Nelson that the Edina Ed Fund is going to fund Saturday school, so we will begin a Saturday school program in January, led by John Ford. And again, I speak to the partnership of our district working with, in this case, it's the Edina Ed Fund. The Jumpstart to Kindergarten was funded by Edina Give and Go, where we were able to get a grant, and it was only at Cornelia, but identified students were able to come in for a eight session opportunity and to work on some of their skills before kindergarten started. They worked on letter recognition, numbers, and the data suggests that it made a big difference for the students. The extended EL summer school, this year we had EL summer school for 3 weeks at our elementary level. So all elementary EL students were able to come to one of our elementary schools for a 3-week summer school. And then the math centers at Southview and Valley View. And then finally, what are we doing with staff? We've had extensive racial equity training. We've had NUA training, National Urban Alliance. As a result of our involvement with that, we have 2 teachers, Jackie Rail and Win Dang, an elementary and a high school teacher, who offer a culturally responsive teaching class once a month after school. This is the 4th year we've done it. We've probably had 20 to 25 staff members who have taken that every year. It continues the NUA strategies. We've done work with Pacific Education Group, Heather Hackman Consulting. We have the District Equity Leadership Team, or DELT, which is made up of lead team and an elementary, middle, and secondary principal. This year we started a District Equity Advisory Council that Dr. Dressen and I co-chair. Sarah Patzloff is a board member on it. We've had 2 meetings. I think the direction of this council will be very, very positive as we move forward. We have site equity teams at every site. And then one of the things that I think I'm excited about is we have 39 staff who volunteered to go through a training model with Heather Hackman, so that beginning with the 14-15 school year, this cadre of 39 people will be able to provide a baseline 4-hour training on racial equity for all new hires in the district, regardless of their positions. With this solid cohort of trainers, it's expected that the district will then have the capacity to train every new hire in the district on racial equity content. In this way, Edina's commitment to becoming a 21st century school district with respect to equity work is more fully supported and more effectively realized. We continue to do family and community outreach. John Ford, in his position as Equity and Inclusion Specialist, continues to reach out to families. We also are reaching out to families in other ways. As I should have mentioned earlier, when you look at the change in the demographics in our elementary school, one of the things that we have been much more intentional about is how we are communicating the choice programs to families. In the past, everybody got the same information. Now we are going out and with an elementary principal with the elementary principal from Highlands, Countryside, and Normandale, we're explaining to families what Normandale would look like, what a continuous progress program would look like, and we've had much more families, after hearing that, apply to these programs. And then finally, the Edina School District is moving forward with a racial equity position statement. I think Dr. Dressen will speak a little bit about that later. And so, with that, what questions do you have of me? One of the things I would add is later tonight you will approve the integration budget. And I think what's very important to note is, one, we got a little less funding than we initially thought when we did the budget in March. But more importantly, with the new legislation, when we put our new plan together, achievement and integration, we have to be much more intentional about what we are spending that money for and how that money is going to close the achievement gap. We have to pull up our data from the last 5 years in math and reading. What are our gaps? Now, I'm somewhat confident and proud of some of the programs that we have spent our money on with our integration budget. I think the ability to add an AVIT, the ability to add a Young Scholars program has really made a difference for our students. What are the additional things we need to add? And then finally, I would be remiss without thanking each and every one of you as board members representing the community on your support for financially on supporting some of the programs. I remember sitting here a few years ago when we were moving from the Foundations of Learning model to in elementary to asking for a full-time learning specialist, and it was your willingness to commit funding. You know, a few years later, we've now added a math specialist, and although we are not where we need to be, I think the work we continue to do is going to make a difference for all of our children.
So I had a question. The Jumpstart to Kindergarten, did you say that was something that they did at their school prior to, so like an August program, or?
So one of the things that Cornelia did, and really it hopefully can be a program we can replicate at all elementary schools, is when they did their kindergarten testing in advance of kindergarten starting, they clearly noticed that some students did not have quite the letter recognition or the number recognition that would allow them to be as successful as we'd like them to be to start with. They identified students, they invited the students in. We got a grant from Edina Give and Go to pay for the learning specialist teacher to meet with these students, and the data and the growth that it ended up being 8 children. For those 8 children, it's a tremendous impactful situation. But the change was tremendous, from maybe recognizing 4 or 5 capital letters to recognizing 22 or 23. And so when you start at a better spot, the whole year should go better. One of the things you've also funded in the past that we will not need in the future is K+ scholarships. With Val Burke and Community Ed and Stephanie Zarbach, we've given, this year it's 40, but the previous year was 55 scholarships for all-day kindergarten. Sometimes we've scholarship children more than 1 year so that they would have their best chance to be successful as they were entering first grade. And, I feel, very much that as a board, again, representing the community, you're supportive of our efforts to, to close the gap and make this the best school system for all our children.
Mary, on the integration budget, the use of the dollars has shifted. What's the impact on our overall budget, or is it going to shift how we're doing things?
I think this year it's not going to have any impact. What we had to do some shifting, but we were able to take some of the funding that we had allocated for kindergarten, all-day kindergarten, and get it absorbed through Community Ed, since this might be the last year that we will be running a K+ program. So this would be a good year to spend the balance down. And then some of the newer teachers that we have teaching some of our programs, be it AVID, Young Scholars, weren't quite as expensive. So we were able to make the adjustment this year. I think we're going to have to look very closely at what impact it could have next year as we look at the expectations of the state and how we are spending that money. I do think there are some things we're doing now that we could possibly use that clearly would lead to that direction, but some of the stuff from MDE is just coming out now.
I noticed in looking at that budget, and maybe we're jumping ahead, but as long as we've brought up the topic now, I'll ask the question. Some of the amounts just changed, up and down a little bit, but the two areas that seemed to be the hardest hit were the academic support at the two middle schools. And I'm just wondering, I know we have to cut because we don't have the money that, we originally thought we were going to get. Are we delivering those same services in a different way, or just can you explain to me why those two look like they took the big hit?
And I'm glad you asked that question. So one of the things is we do have a new academic support specialist. So both middle schools have full-time academic support specialists. One of them happened to be a little less expensive. And the other change was we shifted a little bit in the code. So we also have another person who, at the high school, who, Heidi Howard as an example, is because she teaches Strive, that's coming out of another budget code. So we're not providing any less service to the students. We just have been able to shift financially and where the money's going.
I was hoping that was going to be your answer.
Thanks. Additional questions? Thank you, Mary. Well done.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
work. Yep. Leadership update?
I think Al's going to load this for me. I'm thinking. Let's check. Here it comes.
Moving. It's moving.
There it is. There it is.
It's time to go back to film strips. Overhead.
Overhead projector.
Just to update the board on, we're through the first quarter of the year, and that's always that first step of, taking a quick snapshot of how we've done, and I think the schools are off to a great start. But we're also gearing up now for 2014-15, so we're already into the planning stages. I want to hit some target dates that we look at from a calendar year standpoint as a school district. Again, this aligns with our action plan that we've already established, as well as our strategic plan that we're moving forward on our second and third full years of implementation. One of the big things is we're going to really start zeroing in on working with our staff on really continuing to grow our teamwork. A lot of this is advancing our professional learning communities and the work that we're doing around that, as well as stepping in and taking some assessments so we have some data to work off as far as school climate surveys. We've done this on an every other year basis, but now we're going to try to do this on an annual basis and possibly get some more data questions that are relevant to some of the challenges that we're facing. So again, this is all staff and not just the teaching or administrative staff. We're really trying to grow that ability. The second piece, as Mary mentioned, and then we talked about it earlier this fall at the school board, but we're creating position statements to help drive our strategic plan forward, one around personalized learning experiences, putting some definition to that. The second is positions around racial equity, socioeconomic equity. What does that mean and how are we responding to that? And the third, this whole thought of collaboration and partnership. When we move into the 2014 year, we're going to get aggressive on really taking a look at these power standards. What are the real important standards that we need to make sure all students are learning at the various levels? How are we assessing and measuring that? How can we make sure there's a level of commonness among those assessments? And then also, how are we doing the grading for the learning? Again, trying to build some consistency, kindergarten through grade 12, and also recognizing we've got a post-secondary college setting that we also have to work with. So getting some deeper dialogue on that. We've been doing some work around this, but be more purposeful and put a timeline together of when that would be fully implemented. Fourth major area is taking a look at these secondary action plans. And in December, the board will receive an update from the implementation team of our secondary study. Some of the major areas, one will be looking at schedules and what that would look like, and also some of the facility recommendations, and then some pilot projects that we'll be considering in 14-15. The changes that we'll be making really will be ones that we'll study and bring into implementation, but it'll be the full implementation on the schedule and some of the space recommendations would not occur until the 15-16 years. So we really have another year once we make the decision to prepare for that. But the changes that we heard tonight in the secondary at the high school level around the Collaborative Wednesday, those are the type of schedule things that we're looking now just system-wide at the secondary level. The birth through grade 5 study recommendations, those will be moving forward. That is in that phase of where we're gathering data. And so the surveys are now out to both staff and community as we gather data on what the community is looking for, what staff's looking forward as on our earliest years of learning, and making sure this aligns with our secondary study. 6 major work that we're going to be working on is moving our budget forward in a more timely fashion, so that we'll ask the board to be acting on that in April and May. Again, we're going to continue to make sure that the resources that we have align with our strategic initiatives, so there'll likely be some change going on to make sure we're really making the staff positions and the funds that we have available really align where we feel is the most important places to be. We'll be looking at that 14-15 calendar, which will allow us to start a week earlier, and that again will give us a chance to jumpstart some learning for our young people. In a way, we're going to be assessing that to say how successful has that model been. We're looking at a staff wellness and workflow plan. We recognize among many things that our staff really as we look at new models, we really need to look at their workflow and their workloads. And so we'll be growing some recommendations around that. That's a school climate survey will be one that will help us in assessing some of our priorities. We're expanding our community volunteer program. Val touched on that today, but we're going to continue to grow that and see where we can combine forces with other organizations and systems in the city of Edina and the Edina School District, that we can make sure we have a strong volunteer program. We think there's a lot of opportunities, not just for the school district, but for other agencies and organizations in our community. The 9th, we'll be taking a look at a possible proposal for a building project as we look at space. Again, we have a task force that's looking at that, and they've been doing some preliminary work, but they'll get aggressive in 2014 with recommendations. If we're looking at a recommendation in 2015, again, it would be a July, August time when the board will be discussing that to say what would that look like. We're not only looking at facilities, but just even furniture and other facility improvements we should be considering. We also will be acting tonight on a teacher evaluation plan that the Edina Education Minnesota Edina approved recently, and we've done some modifications, but we'll be acting on that. But that'll be another major initiative we'll be moving forward on. And then the 11th one was just really taking a look at a possible, again, a community initiative around safety and wellness. Those are 11 very strong actions that we're preparing for as an administrative team and as a staff, but it's going to be an important calendar year for us as well as a school year moving forward, and that's the kind of the overview as it relates to the work occurring in our school district.
Thank you, Dr. Dressen. Questions, comments? Seeing none, we're on to our consent agenda. Need a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda as written?
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Rick, could you walk us through, please?
I will. There are the routine items around personnel recommendations, both from the district as well as community education and our expendables. My performance goals are included in that work, and those goals relate very strongly to the 11 items that I just went through, but there are 3 other areas of focus that I'll be continuing to work on, and I'll keep the board informed on that. The board makes that decision in June. We'll also be looking at approving or commending a variety of various young people and their successes. Earlier this evening, the board did have a recognition that we participated in the 2013 National Merit Scholarship Program. We had over, I think it was 40 students who were involved in that program, where we recognize the students, the families, as well as select teachers who have impacted those students. It's a great evening, and we have a commendation to that, as well as some field trips and gifts, and that would conclude our recommendations on the consent agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Any discussion around the consent agenda or items anybody would like removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're on to the action portion of tonight's meeting. First item is the acceptance of oath and oath of office for re-elected board members. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the acceptance of oath and oath of office for newly elected board members. Can I get a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Just like to note that they're both in the audience tonight.
Welcome, Lisa and David. Yep. I'll probably also note that they'll actually begin their induction efforts right after Thanksgiving, and so that there's some fun training hours ahead of them as they prepare to step into the work that is before us in 2014, but we do welcome them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can officially welcome you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now the hazing can begin.
Next up, we've got the 2014-2015 all-day kindergarten program. Can I get a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Gwen, can you provide some background, please?
Surely. Currently, 75% of our kindergartners are in the K-plus program, and the legislature approved that school districts would be able to receive funding for full-day kindergarten or all-day kindergarten programs. So what we did was we sent a survey out to our families, and families of students who currently have students who are 4 and 5 years old and potentially would attend kindergarten next year. We had a 65% return rate. 91% of the 65% said they were in favor of all-day kindergarten, and 9% said that they were still in favor of half-day kindergarten if the half-day kindergarten was located at their community school. When we looked at those sites, they were really spread across the school, the entire school district, and we didn't have a concentrated school for a half-day kindergarten program. So we did some more research and looked at the costs that we would save. We would save about $150,000 because of the transportation, the midday transportation, and it would be a huge savings for families who have been paying for the K-plus program. We also looked at the fact that we don't have enough space throughout the district for all of our kindergarten programs to become full day. We need one classroom at Concord, and one classroom at Cornelia, and that is part of the lease levy. And then we also took into consideration that maybe not all of our children would be able to handle or would want to be a part of a full-day program. So we talked extensively with our principals, and they are more than willing to work with each family on an individual basis. So there is approval for if a student came to school in the morning and then went home midday, that is very much approved. There is no penalty for that, and that would be considered as a half-day program for those children. Or if they came to school midday and stayed for the afternoon, that is permissible as well. And that is one way that we are willing to and want to accommodate our families with varying needs. We have always had that option with families, and when I talked with the principals about how many families have taken this into consideration, they have not had any. They've made other accommodations, but that is not one that they have had to make, but they are willing to do that for the coming school year. I will stop and see if you have any questions.
You said 9% favored half-day if it was at their neighborhood school.
Yeah.
What was the percentage if it wasn't going to be at their neighborhood school?
I'm going to defer to Susan, who took a look at the information.
Of the 9% who indicated a half-day preference, about a quarter of them said only if it's at my neighborhood school. So 3/4 of the 9%. So, do some more math that way. But
And so
getting down to
if
about
the the 9% was statistical, that would be around 55 to 60 students, and then the quarter would be 15 or so.
So it sounds to me, and tell me if I'm understanding you correctly, Gwen, that what the principals have said is they are essentially willing to work with families who only want their child to do a half day of kindergarten, and that would be at the child's home school.
Yes, that would be at the child's home school.
Okay.
And we are not obligated to provide transportation, so that would have to be worked out with the families. And the other challenge with that is that we would not necessarily have all of the academics, one half of the day, either in the morning or in the afternoon. So that is another, that's another challenge. But it is certainly a possibility to accommodate families where their children just aren't ready for a full day experience, and we understand that.
Say, Gwen, would it be more preferential for the families to have their kids come in the morning versus the afternoon, or afternoon versus the morning?
It really depends on the child and their needs. Oftentimes, children are better prepared to come to school in the morning, but again, it really depends on the needs of the child. And in other districts, we did look at other districts, and there are other districts who do this. And there are a few children who come in the afternoon just because they have other activities, or they're engaged in other external activities that are important for families to do in the morning, and then they join the kindergarten classroom in the afternoon.
So if we had a student that only came half day, would we provide them with some outline of the curriculum that is going on over the school year, so since they're not going to be getting the full day experience?
No, what we're obligated to do is provide whatever curriculum we are offering during that half of the day for that child.
Right. The question is whether we would give them an outline of what they're missing so that they could supplement at home if that's what the choice was.
If that's a possibility. I mean, we certainly want to work with families to accommodate them.
I appreciate the options. The background has been very helpful, just to formulate what this looks like for the district, knowing that this is a new direction, but also meeting the needs that we have seen have been beneficial for those who have chosen it, and also what appears to be an interest for a large number of our families, but recognizing that it's not the right choice for every family, so that they do still have an option as well. So I appreciate each of our principals being willing and able to provide that experience.
One question I received, and I think it's important for the public to hear the information, is, as a board, we've talked several times about the addition of these 2 classrooms and also doing our facilities study, and our confidence that adding these 2 classrooms would not be something that would conflict with what we're looking at doing with facilities in the future. So I don't know who wants to tackle that, but I know we spent a fair bit of time around that.
Yes, we did. I think a couple board work sessions in finance and facilities. We had both Eric Hamilton, our director of buildings and grounds, and the district architects from Vaughn Dirks from Old Architects reviewing that, and also visiting with the principals themselves and taking a look at making sure that the additions, where we place them, that fits and makes sense long term. We're addressing this immediate issue to be able to provide all day, every day kindergarten programming, while being mindful of the fact that we have a lot of study discussions, as Dr. Dressen just talked about in his report, that some may have an impact to our facilities, and we want to be mindful of that and planful. So yes, we have had those conversations.
Thanks, Margot. Additional questions, comments?
As I've said in the past, I've tried to be vocal and representative of the families who are concerned that they're losing their half-day program, and we have heard from some of those families. We are a district that prides ourselves on choice, and we are taking this choice away. in all likelihood. And it is not the right fit for all families. There are a lot of families who choose half day because it's the right thing for their kid, and it's the right, and they, meet their needs in the home environment without needing the other half day of school. I did actually reach out to a principal to ask the specific question about what you've addressed, Gwen, in terms of the ability to attend half the day. And again, in state statute, actually your child doesn't have to go to school until they're 7. They don't have to do kindergarten. I mean, there's confusion around that for some of our parents. But the fact that, I guess what still makes me uneasy is what we've discussed tonight, and that is specifically the academics. Right now, when you're in a half-day program, that half-day program makes sure that it covers all the academics in half the day. And, you are not getting the gym and the art and the other areas that the all-day program provides. So my concern is that we would be sure to accommodate these families and make sure that those academics do get addressed, whether it's morning or afternoon, whether it's providing them with some kind of information as to what they may be missing in the half day that they're not choosing to attend. I think we need to be sure that, if we're going to have a mission of all for all, that we are making sure that these families feel that they're a part of that as well, and that it is a choice, and it's not a negative choice for their children. It's something that they feel very strongly about. And I want to continue to, make sure that those parents get their needs met for their kids.
Thanks, Sarah. Additional questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the 14-15 all-day kindergarten program, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next up, we have a revised teacher evaluation model. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Randy, you're on.
Good evening. I'm back to have a conversation with you about our teacher evaluation process. This entire process started back in spring of 2012, about 18 months ago. And as we presented last month, there continued to be some concerns and changes that we took back and did address with our teacher evaluation committee, specifically in 6 areas. We clarified that the role of the committee in Section 8 is not in changing the rubrics, but in changing, they have opportunity to address the performance descriptors as we go through the process of training staff and trying to use those rubrics, that there's a realization that some of the language within the rubric may need to be addressed and tweaked. Specifically, there was a concern in the MOU around teacher rights, and I feel a teacher evaluation committee has addressed that sufficiently so that teachers who do end up on an assistance plan remain anonymous to the teacher evaluation committee. We aligned the language around discipline with that of the master agreement and cleaned up some language around the use of facilitator, coordinator for the facilitator of the program. We also went back and had some great dialogue in our teacher evaluation committee about the language of grievance and how concerns or issues that arise are addressed. And we do have the appeals process, which is in the MOU, and felt that after we continued the dialogue about that, felt that the appeals process was sufficient to address concerns that would be raised either by EME or administrators or our district. And then the last item was to just clarify some language around, that was stated in the original MOU around incorporation of the MOU into the master agreement, which isn't the case, that this MOU stands outside of the master agreement. So we just need to clarify that. So I would just like to extend my appreciation to Beth Russell, Chris Holden, Nikki Tusher, and Bruce Locklear, administrators that served on the committee, and also to Rob Gardner, Chris Bangasser, Megan Schneider, and David Henderson, who put in a considerable amount of time over the last year trying to develop a better model that brings together our ALTCOM program, a peer evaluation model, and meets all the requirements for state statute.
Thank you, Randy, for that review. Any questions?
Just one, and I'm not sure you can answer it. In what ways do you feel our model that we have agreed upon is better or different than what the state put out as the default?
So I'll say, I don't know how well I can answer it, but I'll say this. Ownership
Okay.
is one of the big pieces. I think that our teachers, our administrators feel that they own this plan. Our teachers voted on this plan. Our governance board reviewed changes around that, supported the changes around the plan. They feel that they have a lot of ownership in this plan, and I think that means a lot when we're trying to create an in-depth continuous improvement system moving forward, that our teachers really own the plan and buy into it, especially because the basis of the plan is about peer evaluation. So that's a critical component. I would like to think that there's some clarity pieces that we feel like we have as a system that I think are challenging with the state model. So I think we're excited about that too.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments?
Want to share our thanks as well as a board for all of the work that you put in, Rob Gardner and all the EME representatives and the administrative staff. It's a great result. Thank you.
Thank you.
And your willingness to go back and do the cleanup work when we had come to an agreement and we still needed to have some pieces fixed.
Very good.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the revised teacher evaluation model, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have our employee benefits consultant renewal. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Questions?
Margot.
Pleased to say that there's no increase in this renewal. Corporate Health has been providing service to the district for a number of years, and pleased to see that, again, there's no increase, especially with all the healthcare changes that are up and coming, and Corporate Health will assist in that transition, and this has gone through Finance and Facilities, and recommend your approval.
Thanks, Margot. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the employee benefits consultant renewal. Next up, we have our 13-14 fall budget enhancements. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve our 2013-14 fall budget enhancements. Margot, would you like to walk us through?
I think I'll do that. Again, this is an item, I guess it's a technique that we've used very successfully as a school district over the past few years, where if the budget does look rather favorable, and which, again, because we're close on our enrollment and everything else, that we can zero in on some very targeted areas that we want to maybe move more quickly on or respond to. So we've identified for the board some possible areas that we really want to focus on. Again, this is whether we use all those funds or not, we're pretty careful on how we do that, but we've received input from the administration. Some of the targeted areas include initiatives around workload. Some of the, again, as we prepare for a kindergarten transition, if we need some funding support there. There's areas in there in a variety of venues, moving our teacher evaluation process along. We're also targeted some dollar amounts to help support our All for All initiative. Again, this is the work around closing the access, the opportunity, and the achievement gap. There's dollars also set aside for possibly advancing some of the work on our software development to help build our accountability piece with our scorecards, our vision scorecards. Again, dollars that we target for 1 year. Once the year's over, those, as we plan for the 14-15 year, they're not part of the planning process. Dollars that we'll spend only if we need to, but on a $100 million budget, this 1% one-time funding is a successful tool that we've used in the district, and would entertain any further discussion from the lead team, or questions of the board on this.
So on the closing the gap, are there any specifics behind that one?
There's some part-time teaching positions, some possible training that we might be looking at. Again, we've had a couple requests from the middle school for some areas where they just need that extra point person to come support positions. Again, we're going to be meeting with the administrative team on Wednesday to try to zero in on some things that they might be looking at, some possible additional training, that, again, to advance that work, but not real specific beyond that as far as just, saying this is exactly what we're going to do.
The only question I have is really kind of minuscule. $8,000 for lacrosse helmets.
Right.
I'm wondering why that's coming to the school board and why, that isn't coming out of an existing athletic budget or something.
So that's one area, that's the only team that does not have helmets. And so in the planning of the budget last year, we did not provide for that. Those dollars are all allocated. And so this is the only team without helmets and so it's a budget correction. And so it's a one-time expense that we won't have to do that again, but did not want to get to a situation where we had to have a fundraiser going on by the boosters or something to that. We felt it is stable that we do need to provide, and Troy Stein, our athletic director, asked that be addressed in this fashion.
And I would assume in this day and age of more consciousness about concussion issues, that helmets for people running down the field with sticks is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a budget correction. It really is.
So what is it that didn't make it to this list that we'd like to spend if we could?
Oh, I think there's probably some things around safety and security, that we'll probably continue to study, and some development. As we move into this 2014, some of those targeted action items, maybe in the area of communications, of how we're going to continue to support getting information out to the community, out to the staff. I think workload is a big issue, that not just in Edina, but just all over, and trying to get more creative on how we can do some of that work. I think those would be things that we'll probably still have discussion on what we're doing. Then we'll keep the board informed how we're spending these dollars, and again, then come back on the accountability side of the impact it had.
Thanks, Rick.
So Rick, could you talk a little bit about the extra support for the all-day kindergarten program?
So there may be
something that was missed in the budget?
No, so as we plan for 14-15,
okay,
if there's some programming needs, some additional training time for teachers, maybe in June, which would still fall within this budget, possible materials as we look to an all-day program that because we had 2 half-days before, so we have some opportunity there to make those necessary adjustments. We don't know if that's what we're going to need to spend, but we just planned, and we have some line item budgets that we think would cover those then.
okay. So this is in addition to the budget, obviously, that you have already in place.
Yeah, so it's again preparing for the 14-15 budget
Right.
that we'd want to spend yet this year to be fully prepared. Same thing with teacher evaluation, rather than waiting till the July budget to start moving on that. We really do want to start looking at getting some people ready and trained this spring yet to prepare for our takeoff.
All right, thanks.
Additional questions or comments? All those in favor of approving the 13-14 fall budget enhancements, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have the 13-14 integration budget amended. Get a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We did talk earlier about this. Any additional comments, Mary?
No, this budget had to be approved, I believe, in March of last year, Mary, and it was prior to the legislative session being completed. So there's always, when you have a legislative session like this, there's often a categorical fund that we do need to make an adjustment like this. And this year it's the integration budget, and I think Mary did a nice job explaining it during her presentation.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? All those in favor of approving the integration budget as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have a contract with Flip Education. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a contract with Flip Education to coordinate Minnesota Google and Education Summit to be hosted at Edina Public Schools. Budget of $44,500. Discussion, background, Randy?
The date is actually May 3rd, 2014. Apologize for that. The event is an opportunity for Edina staff to have some great training in Google Apps. Now, we are a Google district. We use a variety of Google applications, including Google Calendar and Mail and Google Docs and Google Sites. And this is an opportunity to bring some dynamic presenters to Edina to use Edina as a host for this conference. The fee to attend the conference is $150 per person. We have reserved 50 free registrations for Edina Public School staff, and in recognition of our formal partnership with the Hopkins School District, also wanting to reserve 50 registrations for Hopkins staff to attend as a partner. This is a budget neutral, would be a budget neutral event for Edina Public Schools. And the, again, it's an opportunity for great technology training for our staff.
When you say it's budget neutral, you mean because you expect people from outside the district to sign up and fill slots?
Correct. The Google Summits have been very, very popular across the country, both regionally and state. And last year we had 450 teachers attend from around the state, and it filled in terms of registration in 6 weeks. So we're anticipating a similar response.
Because my recollection is we did this before, and we had an out if we didn't have a certain number of signups. Is that the same with this one?
I'm not sure exactly
That
how
was
it was
Solution Tree, Randy.
run last year. We did a conference with Solution Tree, if you're referring to that one.
That's what it is.
And so we ran a similar kind of conference with Solution Tree, and we're able to generate some revenue from that. And because of the contract that we had with them, if the numbers were lower, we were able to renegotiate the price, et cetera. But we feel that there's a high demand for the technology training among staff, and so we feel good about the 450 as a capacity number.
And do we have I mean, for our own teachers, are we going to get more than 50? And what do we do then if we have a greater interest from our own teachers?
So then if we have more than 50 right now, the plan would be that they would be charged 150, so we'd have to look at staff development funds for that. But when we look back at registration from last year, we did not quite have 50 from Edina Public Schools attend. So we're anticipating 50 would be a generous number of seats, and we wouldn't necessarily fill all of those.
Well, I calculated, I'm so sorry.
So the registration fee of 150 comes to Edina, to our district. We
Right.
pay them the 44,500 for the seminar. And
Correct.
so it's basically, if we get sort of over 300 some people, we make money on it rather than losing money.
That'd be correct.
Yeah, if we sell the 350, it's 52 grand. So we cover our costs. And you think that's highly likely that we'll sell that out?
We're very confident that we will sell that out.
So we should, this is, misleading is the wrong word, but if the public sees this, they assume we're spending 44,500 on this. Maybe we can change, in the future, change this so it's clear that the goal here is to be revenue neutral, and maybe we put the district funds should not exceed 5,000 or something, or will not exceed 5,000. Something in there so that it's clear that this is not another 44,500 that's coming out of our budget.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you.
And again, this is part of this whole partnership work, and we're developing policy around it, so I think that's a good piece of information. We are looking at some other partners and some other opportunities that we have to, again, have work that aligns to our priorities and that we can advance, and we're excited about this possible partnership. And we'll can probably be, over the next months, bringing some more in, especially as we look to the summer and spring of some opportunities around training, but we've got some other options that we're also exploring, again, that we think we can create some exciting partnerships that will help all learners and our staff really get to that next generation.
Thank you. Sounds like a great opportunity. Additional questions, comments?
Yeah, I just was going to ask, how are you planning to market this to other districts? Does the company do that for you?
So that's part of the service provided by FlipDead, is they do all of the organization, all of the marketing, and pull in the attendees.
Excellent.
Brian, you had a
So,
question?
Yeah, I have just a different flavor question. How many folks on staff really don't know how to use Google Maps, Google Calendar, Google Mail, Google Sites? It just strikes me as really odd that we're sending people to a session like this. I'm not trying to pour water over it, but
I think the real meat is in the Google apps around docs, spreadsheets, presentations, and Google Sites. Google has continued to improve their spreadsheets and how spreadsheets can be used to, with scripts that can be used to display data into dashboard kinds of environments, and it is continually changing and modifying so that it becomes a more and more successful tool to use in the classroom to create collaboration, to also use student data and to analyze student data. So that's kind of an ongoing development process. There is
okay, so it's not really learning how to use a spreadsheet or a Word document, which is what
right. It's
Google
just
does.
continuing to grow the depth of those skills, because it is a very robust tool, and so there's a long ways that staff can go in terms of utilizing them to their potential.
I think with my previous teacher hat on, I would say that there's a huge difference between knowing how to use a tool and being able to advance the use of that tool into higher levels of thinking and so on. To use a sort of a more paper and pencil example, to say that because an advanced placement teacher has been to one-week workshop, that should be the only one they ever go to. You know, this is a chance, I think, to network and to work with people who are advancing the use of those tools.
Right. It just seemed like it was something that you could even benefit from if it was included in part of the, MEA week or one of the other weeks that we have, and have this organization come in and teach people how to apply these particular tools. But the basic tools, I think we'd be hard pressed to find many teachers that don't know how to use them.
No, they know
themselves.
that.
So I think the clarification
And it's
helps.
Google Plus, some of the new tools, it's tying the apps that you can access and how Google can perform that network for you.
Right.
It's building your personal network with other people who are working on that, so that all of a sudden now you have a virtual relationship with possibly another physics teacher who's attending, and starting to create that partnership, so then your learning isn't just with your colleagues within your department, but literally it becomes within the upper Midwest. And so then you start building that bridge as well.
Okay.
A lot of options.
All right. I think that helps a little bit more. Thank you.
Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the contract with Flipped Education to coordinate a Minnesota Google Education Summit to be hosted by Edina Public Schools with the friendly amendment of inserting 2014. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Great program. Thank you. Next up, we have our schedule review of 400 series policies. Can I get a motion to approve policy 419, 430, 432, 437, and to table policy 434 and substitute teachers?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
We can do that. I'm wondering if we could have discussion on 434 and then decide if maybe it is necessary to table it?
That's fine.
I don't know how to do that in a motion.
So we have a motion to bring the policy 434 to the table.
And then we'll have discussion if we want to.
And we may need to
If we
table it
remove
for,
it, then we can do that. But
if that's all
on
right.
the table now.
Yeah. So can I, who gave me the first there to bring that to the table?
Regina.
I
Oh, who's
asked if
first?
we could
You motioned, Lenny seconded. We're good to go.
bring it back to the table.
So all we have is we have
400 series.
No, we have 434 on the table,
Correct.
by itself,
Yes.
all by
Oh,
itself.
all by itself?
Yeah, all by itself.
Solo.
Well, then we can do well, then I will, if I may speak to 419, 430, 432, and 437. There are no changes since we last saw this on October 21st.
Okay, so
but
434.
About 434.
No,
We're
there were
bringing
some,
it forward separately.
there were some changes, the ones that I suggested, most of those were made.
Got
So
it.
there were some.
That's true, you are correct. We did do that. We did put them, since November 11th, or 11/1, November 1st, policy meeting. Those are incorporated. As we
True.
see
So
them.
if you looked at it at the last, if you looked at your October board meeting, there are some minor changes,
slightly
things that I
different than the
saw
October.
that I didn't want to bother the board with at our last meeting, but I sent
I
them all
was
to policy
incorporating
committee.
those in our October, but thank you, you're correct. You brought them up, so we appreciate
But they
you
were
bringing them up.
minor.
Yes, they were minor.
Dotting i's, crossing
Well,
t's.
yeah.
So we have
You know me,
policy
I read word for word.
434 on the table.
doing there?
So,
Yeah, I
Do we
don't
wrap up the
understand
first
which
set of
one.
400s and then bring?
no, 434 is the only thing on the table at this
Yeah,
point.
that's only 434 is on the
Oh,
floor.
Separate.
That's why we're supposed to be talking about 434.
Yeah.
You're confusing Regina, stop that.
I apologize.
But I specified 419, 430,
Yeah,
432,
I know.
437.
That's
Okay.
why I was
434. Kathy, would you like to state your question?
My one question is, in section, it is, I have to go get it's 4, section 4F. It says substitute teachers employed for short periods of time in absence of the regular teachers must be fully licensed to instruct in the district. There's nowhere in the policy that says substitute teachers who are employed for long periods of time must be duly licensed. And I would think that we'd want them both to be duly licensed. So.
And I agree with that. I believe that they should be fully licensed. What I'd like to point out, just as a
We can amend that.
consideration for the policy, is to refer to the definitions in 3A and B. We define a long-term substitute as a substitute teacher. So we may need to further clarify. And
I
if-
see that, but then we talk about substitute
Substitute
teachers employed for short periods of time. So you're qualifying the
Correct.
definition. I mean, you've already defined them as a substitute teacher, now you're defining it only for the short period of time. And since we talk about long-term and
Right.
short-term subs, I think it gets confusing.
And we can certainly go back and bring that forward to add additional clarification.
You could also just say
Why don't-
all
yeah.
substitute
All
teachers
substitute
must
teachers.
be
Fully
There you-
fully licensed
there
to
you go.
instruct in the district, and that would solve the problem. And I would be happy with
I
that.
think we'd move that we amend that language now.
Yes.
Can
We
we?
don't, as opposed to bringing it.
Move,
back
we
to
have it on the
policy.
table. You've amended it. Who's
I
seconded
I
it?
second the amendment.
Okay, so moved and seconded to amend the only item on the table, which is policy 434.
And it's
All those in
section
favor of amending as indicated per Kathy's discussion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's amended. Now we'll combine it with policies 419, 430, 432, and 437 in a master motion. Can I get a first?
First.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor of approving policy 400 series, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That was fun.
Nice work, policy team.
Well, I'd like to add a
Got her
bit,
done.
Kathy.
Yes.
Got her done.
Somebody has to read them line by line.
So, schedule review of
And I'm-
800 series policy, can I get a motion to bring to the table policies 801 through 810?
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We have equal access to school facilities, disposition of obsolete equipment, energy utilization, waste reduction, closing of facilities, naming facilities, and security, student, employees, visitors, buildings, and grounds. We've seen these all before.
And discuss.
Discussion?
Policy notes, specifically addressing policies 802 and 810. In 802, there's a specific change since we looked at this policy on October 21st, and it's in the appendix number 1C. There was a question about superintendent as designee, and the discussion at the November 1st policy meeting is to strike the language at the discretion of the school board to bring that particular segment of the appendix in line with all of our other spending policies.
Okay,
in-
can we hold up there, man?
Yes.
Catch us up. Where are you? 802?
This is
Where?
in policy 802, the appendix 1C.
Oh, yeah. Here.
It's on page 213 of your board book.
So it's regarding contracts of $25,000 or less.
Okay.
The appendix allows for the school board to allow the discretion of moving the contract forward, or as per quotation of the open market.
The appendix did not insert school board discretion into contracts for larger amounts, so it seems silly to just to insert it for contracts of lesser amount.
Okay, I see.
We're removing ourselves from that one.
It's importing it.
Okay.
Did you like that? That was good.
I haven't used that word yet in a meeting.
I'm not sure it can be
You
a
know-
verb, but
Yeah.
I verbed it.
you sure did.
Okay.
The other note is just in policy 810 in reference to the, okay, we're on section 3D1 and 2. There was a question discussed.
Page 233?
Let me see if we're 233. 810, 233.
Mine isn't numbered that way. Which
Just here in
section are you
front
on?
of you.
That's right.
But if you can go to policy 810 and
Yep,
then
yep,
just
I'm there.
scroll down.
Or what section?
Go back up to the next section.
She said 3.
Okay.
3, right?
3D.
3D. Thank you. That's all I needed.
After hours safety of
Yep,
students and
got it.
employees.
There is some repetition in section 3D, paragraphs 1 and paragraph 2. The discussion at policy committee is to leave those particular sentences as is because they address different situations and populations. So there was a consideration that maybe we could consolidate or strike some of the language, and given that they are one addressing out-of-district groups, one addressing in-district groups, better to leave the redundancy.
Fine with that?
Any other questions on the 800 series that we have not addressed?
I hope it's safe to say that you've thoroughly reviewed these. You've done a good job.
Additional questions? Thank you all. This is a tremendous amount of work that's put
Oh,
into
it's-
both of these series.
It really is.
All those in favor of approving the 800 series policy, which consists of 801 through 810, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 800 series policies are approved. And then we have a policy 910. And a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve updated policy 910. Any discussion?
This is the same as October 21st. The only change to this policy, as was proposed when it was discussed, is inserting the reference to e-cigarettes in 3B, which was a form of tobacco that did not exist when the policy was originally drafted.
And also in the exception language, adding the word American to Indian.
Yes.
I saw
Thank
that.
you.
Additional discussion? All those in favor of approving policy 910, tobacco, alcohol, and drug-free schools, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have a motion to rescind policy 803, turf management. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. We discussed this previously. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to our discussion items. Course offering changes. Randy, whenever you're ready.
So we are bringing for discussion, bringing forward tonight, 5 course changes or proposals for course changes. The first one is to attack a course that has been non-viable for the last 3 years, or to prune a course, I should say, not really actually attack it. We've had about 2 to 3 students per year sign up for this course. It is the Project Lead the Way Intro to Engineering Design Women in Engineering. So the proposal is to discontinue that course in the catalog. The second one is a course description change. It's AP Computer Science. The change is to move it under the English and Engineering and Technology department. It's currently listed in the Math department. Puts it in an area of the catalog that our administrators and teachers feel would be more accessible, more noticed by teachers, or by students rather. We also changed the prerequisite to function statistics and trigonometry, which better aligns with the preparation requirements for the AP test for computer sciences. The third one is to change the title of concert orchestra to varsity orchestra. The rationale is that that's the same naming convention as band uses. The third set of changes are around Chinese 1, 2, and 3. We've worked with our Chinese teacher with these descriptions and feel that these are better aligned to the objectives for the courses and for to the textbook resources that are available to support the course. Also noted a prerequisite change where the prerequisite is that we have students either complete the previous course or through instructor approval. So wanting to just make sure that we're articulating to students that there are multiple pathways into this program. If you already have some language background, we may be able to assess that and get you in at a higher level. The new course proposal then, which is sitting in this resolution, is for Chinese 4. We anticipate about mid-30s for the numbers of students that would sign up for that. I think we started the Chinese program back in 2009, and as that has grown in popularity, we have students in Chinese 3 right now that don't have a next level of Chinese. So Chinese 4 is being proposed for next year as a result for those, as a place for those students to go to continue their study of this, of the language of Mandarin. So that is our proposal for changes.
Thank you, Randy. Questions? There is an equivalent of this Intro to Engineering that's offered currently, correct? It's just not
Yes.
gender. It's just
Yep.
not gender specific.
Yep, that's correct.
Additional questions or comments? Okay, and we'll see this at next month's meeting?
That's correct.
Review of policy 811, buildings and sites, environmental resource management. Who wants to start with that?
There are not, the changes that are here are really proposed to clean up the policy in accordance with what we've been doing consistently with other policies. It's mostly a language thing.
The only semi-substantive change is down under 4B, administrative responsibilities. Rather than saying that it's going to be an annual thing, we said that just going to review it on an ongoing basis. It becomes part of people's regular work rather than something that has to have a report.
Any discussion? We'll see that one next month. Information, announcements.
Just remind the board that several of us are going to some training at Hopkins tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and we can talk a little bit about that. We do have our new board members will be officially joining us January 1, I should say, but we'll be jumping in December here to as we kind of start getting them geared up. But we welcome them again.
Thank you, Rick. Any committee reports or other items anybody would like to report?
Do you really want more of a report from policy?
Certainly, if it's appropriate. We can never have enough policy. Anyone? Anyone? Susan, the new mailer I like. Thank you. What's it called? Experience. Well done. Any other announcements? And a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's moved and seconded. Anybody objecting to adjourning at this time? Seeing none, we are adjourned.